You're listening to the Kirkintilloch Herald, a Q & Review recording service podcast, brought to you by our team of volunteers currently recording from their homes across Scotland. Whether you're listening via the BWBF online players, the telephone app, or our brand new Alexa skill, please phone us on 0141 772 3976 to feedback on what you want us to provide and improve upon. Please also join your family and friends in being our audio ambassadors and share our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram all at Q & Review. That's @ CUEANDREVIEW.
This week's edition of the Kirkintilloch Herald, published on Wednesday the 28th of September 2022, read to you by Alan, Colin, Hunter and Ian. Elderly residents forced to wait up to 2 hours. Report by Johnny McInnes, read by Ian. Problems have arisen yet again in Kirkintilloch over lengthy queues for those called to the town hall for another round of vaccinations, with some not prepared to wait and returning home. The Herald has received several emails which alerted us to the problem, which we also reported back in November 2021. The issue appears related to the scheduling, which meant that extensive queues built up, meaning many elderly residents were forced to wait up to 2 hours for their booster jab. One resident who contacted us, Florence Kearney, said, "My 84-year-old registered blind mother-in-law, who also suffers from a multitude of other ailments, had her vaccine appointment on Wednesday evening last week at Kirkintilloch Town Hall at 6:45 p.m. Fortunately, I decided to accompany her, and we were down on time for her appointment to see a queue halfway up Union Street. Apparently this has been the case since the programme began. We initially joined the queue, but as it was getting dark and rain was imminent, I decided to ask a member of staff the waiting time, and she duly informed me it would be an hour and a half to 2 hours. I actually thought she was joking. I mean, late at night and vulnerable people lining up in the dark and rain? This, apparently, is Scotland in the 21st century. When I asked why this was, I was told by a member of staff that Greater Glasgow churn all these appointments out in the hope that many don't turn up, but as we all know, the older generation are not in the habit of wasting appointments by not turning up. They value health service, but apparently the health board don't value them. The icing on the cake for me was when I saw another lady who was behind us speaking to a member of staff at the exit door. She then proceeded to take her mother out the queue, saying, "Come on, I've had to tell a pack of lies, but we're getting in the other door." The moral of the story is my mother-in-law hasn't had her vaccines, and unless the appointment system changes, she won't be having it, and nor will I. A spokesperson for NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde said, "We apologise to anyone who has had to wait longer than expected for their vaccinations. We would like to thank members of the public for their patience and the support they have given our vaccination teams, who are working extremely hard to ensure that those who are receiving their vaccinations are processed both swiftly and safely. To help prevent waits and allow our vaccination teams to process people in a timely manner, we are asking members of our local community to arrive only a few minutes ahead of their allocated appointment time. If anyone is concerned about accessing a clinic, we would encourage them to call the national helpline on 0800 030 8013. That's 0800 030 8013. This Week in History, Wednesday the 28th of September 2022. September 28, 1923, the Radio Times was first published. On this day last year, the Prince of Wales, the Duchess of Cornwall and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge attended the glittering world premiere of the new Bond film No Time to Die. September 29, 1983, A Chorus Line broke the record as the longest running Broadway show with its 3,389th performance since July the 25th, 1975. September the 30th, 1967, BBC's Radio 1 went on air for the first time, with Tony Blackburn introducing The Breakfast Show. His first record was Flowers in the Rain by The Move. On this day last year, children with epilepsy were able to get an easier diagnosis thanks to the development of a new helmet-style brain scanner. October the 1st, 1969, Concorde 001 broke the sound barrier for the first time during a test flight in France. On this day last year, Wales became the first UK nation to make teaching of Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic (BAME) histories and experiences mandatory in the school curriculum. October the 2nd, 1925, London's first red buses with roofed-in upper decks went into service. Police restrictions had previously prevented them being used in the capital, although they had been in operation in Widnes since 1909. October the 3rd, 1959, the postcode, required in the addressing of mail for mechanical sorting, was first used in Britain, in Norwich.
Kids urged to swim. Youngsters in East Dunbartonshire are being urged to follow in the footsteps of Scotland's recent Commonwealth and Olympic Games medal-winning heroes and celebrate learning to swim. With September marking Learn to Swim Month, local authorities, leisure trusts and aquatic providers across Scotland have been rolling out a month-long celebration of swimming, which will see hundreds of youngsters take part in swimming lessons every week. The Learn to Swim Month is also celebrating the important role of swimming teachers, with those interested in long-term or shorter-term positions encouraged to get in touch to find out more about becoming a swimming teacher by contacting their local leisure trust or aquatic provider. The Learn to Swim framework, a partnership between Scottish Swimming and Scottish Water, delivered by local authorities, leisure trusts and aquatic providers across Scotland, has already seen more than 100,000 young Scots take part in swimming lessons and is targeting another 100,000 by 2025 in a bid to create a generation of confident, safer and competent swimmers. Championing the Learn to Swim programme and Learn to Swim Month are programme ambassadors and swim superstars Duncan Scott and Tony Shaw, who both recently achieved major success at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Brian Laroney, Director of Corporate Affairs with Scottish Water, said, "Our ambition for the Learn to Swim programme is to create an enduring legacy for Scotland that will help build a nation of happier, healthier and safer young people who fulfil their potential in and out of the pool. Everyone should be able to enjoy Scotland's rivers, lochs, reservoirs and shorelines safely and with confidence. So it's brilliant to have a month dedicated to such a fundamental life skill. A total of 36 leisure trusts and aquatic providers are now welcoming children back after summer holidays in more than 160 pools. Ewan Lowe, Chief Executive Officer at Scottish Swimming, said, "Learning to swim is a life skill and it's so important for everyone to learn how to be confident and safe in the water." Read by Alan Todd.
£7 million for project, as recorded by Hunter MacDonald. Researchers at the University of Glasgow have been awarded a multi-million-pound grant to establish a new health research unit to help tackle health inequalities in Latin America. Professor Alistair Leyland, based at the MRC CSO Social and Public Health Sciences Unit at the University of Glasgow, has been awarded £7 million for 5 years by the National Institute for Health and Care Research, NIHR, to establish the NIHR Global Health Research Unit on social and environmental determinants of health inequalities. The new research unit has global collaborators in both Brazil and Ecuador, 2 Latin American countries that show marked inequalities in health. These inequalities are regarded as largely due to social determinants of health, the conditions in which people are born, grow, work, live, age and die. Greer welcomes rent freeze. Ross Greer, the Scottish Greens MSP for East Dunbartonshire, has welcomed the Scottish Government's announcement of a national rent freeze and an eviction ban until at least the 31st of March, which they say will provide vital stability and support for tenants across East Dunbartonshire at a time when many are suffering from the cost of living crisis. The announcement was made as part of Scotland's 2022-23 programme for government and will help tenants across East Dunbartonshire, where the average monthly rent for a one-bedroom property is £534, which is an increase of 18.9% since 2010. It will be taken forward by Scottish Greens co-leader and Minister for Tenants' Rights Patrick Harvey. Greer, Green MSP for East Dunbartonshire, said, With soaring inflation, skyrocketing bills, these are desperate times for tenants all across Scotland. So I'm glad that Green ministers and the Scottish Government are stepping in to help. Rent increases in East Dunbartonshire regularly outstripped average wage rises before the cost of living crisis. Now they're pushing far too many people over the financial edge. The rent freeze and eviction ban announced by the First Minister will provide vital stability and support for tenants across East Dunbartonshire. This is just one of the steps we are taking here in Scotland to mitigate the damage being done by Downing Street and the big energy companies. Over the course of this parliamentary term, Scotland will see the biggest expansion of tenants' rights since devolution. Free workshops at Bishopbriggs. Creativity and mindfulness are being brought together at free workshops taking place at Bishopbriggs Library next month. 2 mindful crafting and meditation experience sessions will be hosted at the library on Saturday 8th of October as part of a funded initiative for local sister-led businesses. The workshops will be run by sisters Deborah and Jo Craig, who decided to blend parts of each of their existing businesses to create a fun and relaxing learning experience to inspire and motivate people. They recognised after the peak of the pandemic that people were struggling even more, and the sisters decided to try and do something about it for themselves. Each 2-hour workshop will include a strategically chosen craft technique and a deep group meditation using appropriate tools, techniques reflecting the theme of the session. Deborah said, the sessions will explore thoughts, feelings and experiences through creativity and mindfulness. Being able to acknowledge and express how you're feeling is key to processing emotions that can lead to bigger problems. This programme supports all learning styles, talking and expressing thoughts and feelings, expression of self through creativity and relaxation, with guided meditation to release emotions to help stay in the present. The 2-hour sessions will take place at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturday 8th of October. Places are limited to 10 each session. Book via www.eventbrite.co.uk and you can follow the link to Bishopbriggs Library tickets. Scrabble President retires. The outgoing president of the Kirkintilloch Scrabble Club has been honoured by members at a recent presentation event. Catherine Rundle was presented with a certificate and a bouquet of flowers. Cathy founded the club in 2015 after finding few outlets for sedate leisure activities. The club recently received funding from the National Lottery which will contribute towards room hire and new equipment. The club is held in the Kirkintilloch Miners Welfare and Social Club on a Wednesday afternoon. There is no joining fee and a £1 a week contributes to tea and biscuits. New President Linda Harper welcomes all new members.
Get ready for LEZ. Key actions to ready the city for the enforcement of Glasgow's low emission zone, LEZ, were outlined today at the Net Zero and Climate Progress Monitoring Committee. Ahead of general enforcement, which starts on 1st June 2023, a multidisciplinary working group has been set up to oversee planning for the operational phase of the city centre LEZ, complementing national activity led by Transport Scotland. The committee also heard that procurement for camera and back office solutions is already underway, whilst installation of enforcement infrastructure is advanced and expected to be complete by the end of the year. Official signage for Scottish LEZs has been established at national level and confirmed with all LEZ cities. Suitable signage locations have been determined, with signs to be installed on Glasgow streets as well as in the M8 motorway by December. Access to vehicle databases for LEZ compliance checks and enforcement is being undertaken at national level and is expected to be in place by the end of the year, allowing for an extended testing period before enforcement. Operating 24 hours a day, all year round, and enforced by way of penalty charge, Glasgow's LEZ will cover an area of the city centre bounded by the M8 motorway to the north and west, the River Clyde to the south, and Saltmarket High Street to the east. As vehicles are the main source of the harmful air pollutant nitrogen dioxide, Glasgow's LEZ is an essential measure to protect public health by tackling the current illegal levels of air pollution in our city centre. Its design also supports the city's wider climate change ambitions by encouraging a shift away from private car use towards more sustainable forms of transport. From 1st June 2023, Glasgow's LEZ will affect all vehicles driving into the city centre to maximise the health and environmental benefits it can deliver. It builds on the first bus-only phase introduced in 2018, which has since seen a much greater proportion of cleaner, low and zero-emission buses travelling through our city centre. Some vehicle types are automatically exempt from LEZs in Scotland, such as emergency vehicles and vehicles for disabled people. Blue badge holders are also exempt.
New service is helping the NHS. Upwards of 11,000 bed days have been freed up in NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde Hospital so far this year, thanks to an innovative service which helps keep patients out of hospital. The Outpatient Parenteral Antibiotic Therapy, OPAT, service supports the elderly discharge for patients with complex infections who would otherwise require a long hospital stay, and provides an alternative to hospital admission for patients with other conditionings requiring a shorter stay, such as cellulitis or complicated urinary tract infection. Discharge with either intravenous or complex oral antimicrobial therapy is supported from all hospitals within NHS GGC by the main OPAT service, which is based at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow. A cellulitis admission avoidance service is also provided for patients via the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital. The OPAT service is currently expanding with the aim of supporting earlier discharge and more locally delivered admission avoidance services via ambulatory care centres throughout NHS GGC. The service is contributing to between 350 to 400 avoided inpatient days for upwards of 70 patients per week. Dr Andrew Seaton is a consultant in infectious diseases and leads the OPAT service across NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde. He said, "In simple terms, OPAT helps keep people with a range of infections out of the hospital who are usually admitted or stay in because they need intravenous therapy. Keeping people out of hospital benefits patients and their families as they can remain at home without any of the anxiety and risks involved with being in a hospital, and it benefits the health service overall as it allows for the most appropriate use of our inpatient facilities." Dr Scott Davidson, Deputy Medical Director for Acute Services at NHS GGC, added, "The COVID-19 pandemic and current pressures on acute hospital services have highlighted the need to provide an alternative to treatment in hospital settings wherever possible. OPAT is a great example of how collaborative working and thinking between teams allows patients to be managed safely on an outpatient pathway rather than having to be admitted. It also creates significant inroads in helping reduce capacity on acute services." School magazine scoops 2 wins at awards. In a little over 12 months, a group of pupils from Bishopbriggs Academy have gone from students with a dream to the award-winning Bishy Bulletin magazine team. Originally, the Bishy Bulletin, as the magazine is fondly known, was a pastime during home learning. However, when the 2021-22 school year began, a group of determined young people were eager to keep the bulletin alive. After the 2021 summer holidays, the original group met up to discuss their visions. With the help of English teacher / PT guidance, Mr Wilson, the Bishopbriggs Academy pupils published their very first issue of the year in October 2021. This was jam-packed with interesting content. From articles on hot topics, interviews and news updates, to jokes, art, stories and recipes, the bulletin contains something educational and interesting for everyone. The pupils received such a response, it gave them the motivation to continue the project. Over the course of the school year, the pupils created 3 more issues: Winter, Spring and Summer 2022. The bulletin covered everything, from a man who sailed the world with a chicken, to homelessness in Scotland, pancakes, puns and holidays. The team believe that one of the best ways to growing their success is involving more people. For example, they partnered with our mental health ambassadors, interviewed Jay McKierney and Bishopbriggs Academy's Inclusivist Club. Another way they had gained success is advertising the magazine around the school via eye-catching posters with QR codes to the online issue. The team also love educating the readers on the importance of equality involving LGBTQ+, by interviewing teachers who found it important to spread the word. On the last day of school before the 2022 summer holidays, the magazine was entered into the first newspaper of the year 2021-22 competition in the categories Young Reporter of the Year and Best Secondary School Magazine. The team were delighted to hear that Hallie McCann won the Young Reporter of the Year award, and the Bishop Bulletin took it top place as the Best Secondary School Magazine.
Business Awards. Lanarkshire's business community is alive and kicking. Following months of anticipation, the winners of the 2022 Lanarkshire Business Excellence Awards, which showcase the region's best performing businesses, were unveiled. Over 470 guests attended the most prestigious nights in the local business calendar, which was hosted by Grant Stott. The event, organised by North and South Lanarkshire Council and sponsored by Albert Bartlett, also raised over £5,100 for St Andrew's Hospice. Councillor Jim Logue, leader of North Lanarkshire Council, said, "Lanarkshire businesses are vital to our local economy, and these awards shine a light on their hard work and outstanding achievements. It has been a great honour to be a part of the celebrations tonight at the awards dinner." And the winners are Murray Landscapes Limited, winner of Lanarkshire's Best Businesses 0 to 10 employees. Ecky's Ice Cream, winner of Lanarkshire's Best Businesses 11 to 50 employees. R&W Scott Limited, winner of Lanarkshire's Best Business 51 plus employees. Policy Expert, winner of Excellence in Customer Service Award. CM Electrical Services Scotland Limited, winner of Lanarkshire's Best New Business. Novosound, winner of Lanarkshire's Innovation Business Award. The Swan Banton, winner of Lanarkshire Community Impact Award. ACES Clothing Limited, winner of Journey to Net Zero Award. MGB Services Limited, winner of Lanarkshire's Best Family Business. Logos Logistics Limited, winner of Lanarkshire's Employer of the Year Award. South Lanarkshire Council leader Councillor Joe Fagan added, "We have so many diverse businesses across the area, and I am delighted for the winners. All of the finalists should be proud as well. It was no easy task to choose the winners, as every category was so competitive. The awards are always a great occasion, and my congratulations to everyone who was part of such a successful evening."
Council reaffirms pledge. North Lanarkshire Council say that tenants are at the heart of their pledge as they reaffirm their commitment as a landlord by signing the Scottish Housing Regulator's assurance statement. The spokesman said the statement, which is readily available to our tenants, was presented to our Housing Committee and signed by Councillor Heather Brannan McVeigh, Housing Convener, prior to its submission to the regulator. The statement is in place to ensure landlords are responsible and accountable for delivering positive outcomes and services for tenants and service users in areas including homelessness, complaint management, tenant and resident safety and human rights and inequality. Since April 2019, social landlords in Scotland have had statutory obligation to produce an annual assurance statement relating to the previous financial year by 31st of October. No areas of non-compliance were reported for 2021-2022.
Annual campaign launch. Poppies are on their way to you. Scotland's most decorated swimmer, Duncan Scott, has helped send 3 million poppies for the Scottish Poppy Appeal on their way to communities across the country. He joined forces with veterans from Lady Haig's Poppy Factory for the special mission on Thursday. The multiple Olympic and Commonwealth gold medalist, whose father and uncle served in the British Army, took time out from his training regime to lend a hand loading poppies onto lorries. These will now be delivered around Scotland ahead of this year's appeal, in the run-up to Remembrance Sunday on November the 13th. A team of 34 disabled veterans have spent the last 11 months making each poppy by hand ahead of Scotland's largest fundraising street campaign. An army of volunteers will now distribute them across the country, with all donations going to support Poppy Scotland's vital work supporting the armed forces community. Duncan said, I was honoured to be invited to visit Lady Haig's poppy factory and to see firsthand the fantastic work the veterans do. With both my father and uncle having served in the armed forces, I'm incredibly grateful to the veterans and volunteers who work tirelessly to provide poppies to the whole of Scotland. Now it's in its 101st year, the poppy is an enduring symbol of remembrance, representing reflection on the past and hope for a peaceful future. The Scottish Poppy Appeal is the largest annual charity street collection in Scotland, raising more than £2 million each year. All money raised, as well as Poppy Scotland's year-round fundraising, enables the charity to deliver a wide range of services to veterans and their families, ranging from employment and housing support to advice on mental health and mobility. Gordon Mitchie, Poppy Scotland's head of fundraising, said, "After 2 difficult years due to COVID-19 restrictions, we're hoping for a return to normal this year. Our tens of thousands of volunteers are looking forward to getting fully back out in streets and shopping centres and supermarkets around the country, meeting the public and offering poppies to everyone who chooses to wear one. We're very grateful to our fantastic team of veterans who have worked tirelessly all year to produce the millions of poppies for this year's appeal." Thursday's uplift was a special moment for all of them as these poppies start their journey across Scotland. This year's appeal is more important than ever, as we're seeing increasing demand for our services as more families struggle with the cost of living. Our servicemen and women, and their families, make extraordinary sacrifices on our behalf, so we want to ensure that we are always there to provide support when they need it. For more information on the charity, visit www.poppyscotland.org.uk. Support a call away. Poppy Scotland provides support for current and former members of the armed forces, as well as their families. The charity has helped countless men, women and families with issues linked to their time in the armed forces, or with struggles adjusting from military to civilian life. It even helps with the needs that have arisen long after someone has left the armed forces. Whenever, wherever support is needed, Poppy Scotland prides itself in being there for our veterans, with, of course, fundraising support from the public. If you need help, call 0131 550 1557 from 9am to 4pm Monday to Friday, or email gethelp@poppyscotland.org.uk.
Families are living without a lifeline. A shocking snapshot of the crisis facing single-parent families in Scotland has been launched by One Parent Families Scotland. Its research report, Living Without a Lifeline, is based on anonymous online surveys and focus groups of single parents accessing the charity's 5 local services. Feedback from 260 single parents highlights their experiences and priorities, which includes cost of living, family finances, social security, childcare, employment, access to education, mental health and well-being, and the ongoing impact of COVID-19. Almost all, 97.9%, the participants said they felt the impact of rising costs. 3 in 5 said they were finding it either extremely difficult to afford or could no longer afford electricity, while 58.1% said the same about gas, and 43.7% said the same about food. And the charity is now calling on the Scottish Government to act fast to help parents in desperate need. Satwat Rehman, the charity's CEO, said, "Living without a lifeline is exactly what so many single parents who took part in our research and who reach out to our services every day say they are doing, which is why we chose this as the title for our report. Women who are single parents have been particularly hard hit by the economic storm that has engulfed us, and with women's poverty being inextricably linked to child poverty, we are living amidst a rising tide of family hardship. Single parents described the day-to-day struggle to afford food and fuel and the need to make sacrifices to ensure that children's basic needs were met. In some cases, mothers go without food and struggle to pay essential bills. Isolation, anxiety, depression and suicidal thoughts were described. The parents responding have also forcefully described the policy areas which must be prioritised by government to tackle poverty and support family well-being, and the priority areas where we at OPFS need to focus our energies. Over the coming year, these priorities will be our priorities. Established in 1944, One Parent Families Scotland, OPFS, is the leading charity working with single-parent families in Scotland. It provides expert advice, practical support, and campaigns with parents to make their voices heard.
Planning required. Longer-term joint planning is needed to address child poverty in Scotland, which has increased since targets were set in 2017. The Scottish Government's policies and spending remain more focused on helping children out of poverty rather than preventing it. Over a quarter of children in Scotland, 260,000, were living in poverty before the COVID-19 pandemic, and the current cost of living crisis makes the situation worse. Stephen Boyle, Auditor General for Scotland, said, "Poverty affects every aspect of a child's well-being and life chances. The Scottish Government needs to work with its partners to quickly set out the detail of how the second child poverty plan will be delivered, monitored and evaluated. It is essential ministers also act now to set out options for reaching the long-term targets in 2030.
Pilot scheme for victims of domestic abuse. Report by Julie Curry. An innovative pilot scheme which aims to transform the service offered to victims of domestic abuse by the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service, COPFS, has been launched. The pilot, for cases heard at Dundee, Hamilton and Paisley Sheriff Courts, will include new methods of direct engagement between those prosecutors and victims. It will enhance the existing service provided by dedicated Victim Information and Advice (VIA) staff at COPFS to enable victims to speak directly to a prosecutor early in the justice process. The new service builds on the recent experience of the Specialist Domestic Abuse Prosecution Team in Glasgow and academic research by experienced prosecutor Dr. Emma Forbes. The Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain said, "We recognise that the justice process can be overwhelming for victims of crime. Prosecutors do not underestimate the strain that navigating the complexities of the system can add to the experience of being a victim of crime." The pilot looks at what we offer to address the concerns of many victims, to ensure we are meeting their needs by offering earlier, more direct and proactive communications with the prosecutor. We are determined to increase the confidence of victims in the criminal justice system. The pilot has the backing of Assist, the victim advocacy support agency working in Dundee, Hamilton and Paisley. Fiona McMillan, Assist Operations Manager, said, "The journey to justice can be complex and confusing for victims in domestic abuse cases. Victims have told us that contact from a Procurator Fiscal Depute can help them to feel listened to and included. Assist welcomes the strategy for enhanced engagement with victims during the pilot. The work is part of the wider Summary Case Management (SCM) pilot, launched this month, which is to reduce the number of unnecessary hearings at summary level, which contributed to over 400,000 witnesses citations last year. It will achieve this by facilitating early disclosure of evidence and early judicial case management, which will free up time for enhanced services for victims and witnesses." And that report was by Julie Curry. Opinion. Let's talk. This week's Kirkintilloch Herald letters page, date Wednesday, the 28th of September 2022. Consistently lame and repetitive excuses? Sir, it is the fault of the pandemic. It is the fault of Brexit. It is the fault of the wicked UK government. These are just three of the usual excuses trotted out by the First Minister when she is under renewed attack for her own domestic policy failures, as she was at First Minister's questions last week, with particular reference to the shocking A&E waiting time figures. However, Nicola Sturgeon added a newer excuse to her standard list, now blaming the changing demographic of the country. Unless we mere mortals are in any doubt, everything in Scotland is rosy, because the Scottish NHS seems to be performing ahead of the equivalent in England and Wales. How this must provide such comfort to potential patients from all over Scotland waiting in A&E departments hour after hour to be seen. The First Minister and her array of incompetent health ministers have been in power for over 15 years. Her consistently lame and repetitive excuses will not wash anymore. The public know exactly where the blame lies for our failing NHS and, if she was honest, So does the First Minister. Yours, etc., Richard Allison. Address supplied. Stand by for more glue, sir. GMB General Secretary Gary Smith has said that the big winners from renewables have been the wealthy and big corporate interests. He has urged the Labour Party to abandon bourgeois environmentalism, get real about energy supply and back fracking. I completely agree. The Labour Party and the SNP have been captured by people who have no experience of industry, engineering or infrastructure projects, but like Luddites have turned their backs on economic development and its creation of greater wealth and higher living standards for ordinary people, which reliable energy sources have provided for decades. Now that the government has realised that energy policy over the past 20 years has been disastrous and is trying to increase oil and gas output, we can expect these bourgeois environmentalists to become more desperate in their demands to shut down oil and gas production. Stand by for more raving, ranting, disinformation, gluing, mobbing, smashing, tire deflating criminality in the months ahead. Yours, etc., Willie Lonsky, by email. Posturing. Sir, we are subjected to the SNP's Energy Secretary, Michael Matheson, putting on a tough and supposedly principled stance and insisting there will be no fracking licences issued in Scotland. But, in the meantime, there will be no ban on Grangemouth processing imported fracked oil and gas, nor in the banning of any fracked or nuclear power generated electricity. In other words, it will make not a bit of difference other than the SNP can do what they do best: hypocrisy and posture politics. If they were serious and principled, all fracking and nuclear end products would be banned. They would disengage Scotland from any power grid that is involved and instead rely entirely on unreliable and intermittent wind. Otherwise, their stance is sheer hypocrisy and merely a meaningless posture. Yours, etc., Alexander Mackay. Address supplied. Inference. Sir, the latest British Social Attitude Survey from 2021 data indicates support for an independent Scotland has grown from 27% in 1999 to 52%. This is the highest figure reported in an authoritative survey. Over the same period, there's been a drop in support for devolution from 59% to 38%. While different polls posing different questions typically exhibit more pronounced highs and lows, there is no doubt the underlying trend of public opinion in Scotland is an increasing desire for self-determination. That said, there perhaps is a strong inference from the survey results that this change may be due, at least in part, to the persistent denigration of the Scottish Government by opposition parties and by many commentators in the mainstream media. While the public can see for themselves there are many areas in which the Scottish Government can do better, most can also see that south of the border, life in general is not better, as it is in fact worse for many of the poorest and least privileged. UK government is failing, and it is now clear that Brexit is not the solution, and that only independence can deliver the future to which most in our country aspire. Yours, etc., Stan Grudinsky, by email. National Strategy Launch for Beavers. A national strategy has been published setting out a route map for beavers in Scotland over the coming decades. The development of Scotland's Beaver Strategy 2022 to 2045 has involved more than 50 stakeholder organisations, representing one of the most ambitious approaches to conserving a species ever carried out in Britain. The strategy will steer wider efforts to identify and actively expand the population to new catchments, alongside appropriate management and mitigation, following the Scottish Government's change in policy to encourage wider beaver restoration. It sets out plans to empower and support communities to maximise the environmental and wider benefits of beavers, while minimising negative impacts. The strategy highlights the need for ongoing research and monitoring of the beaver population and its effects to inform and improve management as the population expands, using existing and new techniques and technologies. Biodiversity Minister Lorna Slater said, "Just 25 years ago, most people would not have imagined that beavers would soon return as a member of our Scottish fauna. Now that they're returning, we have a responsibility to look after them and value them, to learn and live alongside these remarkable animals. This strategy, and our work together to deliver it, is an important step towards this goal. I have no doubt of the positive impact that delivering it will have on the natural environment across the country as beavers re-engineer and restore rivers and create wetlands. Recognising the concerns and requests made by stakeholders during the development of this strategy, the Scottish Government will support the expansion of beavers across the country, while ensuring land managers are supported to live alongside beavers. The strategy was developed by the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Conservation Planning Specialist Group, a cross-stakeholder organising team including representatives from Nature Scot, National Farmers Union of Scotland, Scottish Wildlife Trust, Scottish Land and Estates, and the Royal Zoological Society of Scotland helped to steer the process. A new Scottish Beaver Advisory Group, made up of key organisations, will now work together to help take the strategy forward. Jamie Copsey, facilitator of Scotland's Beaver Strategy, said, "It is great to be part of such a national effort, bringing together diverse needs and interests to agree on a common way forward for such an emotive species as the Eurasian beaver. Scotland is modelling the way for collaborative biodiversity restoration efforts globally." Francesca Osowska, Nature Scot's chief executive, said, "Our long-term vision is to see the beaver population expand across Scotland, coexisting successfully with communities. Beavers can play an important role in helping to restore biodiversity and respond to the climate emergency in Scotland, and we aim to see further releases into the new catchment this year. It's essential that this happens in a way that takes into account the views of local communities living in these areas." Service has saved 45,000 bed days. A new service which has already saved 45,000 hospital bed days this year is being further rolled out over the coming months. The Outpatient Antimicrobial Therapy (OPAT) service allows people to be treated at home or in outpatient settings, reducing the need for hospital admission or long stays. Patients are able to receive intravenous antimicrobial therapy or other complex antibiotic treatment in an outpatient clinic at a time convenient to them, and in some areas even at home. The service, part of the Right Care in the Right Place initiative, is just one of many innovative programmes which health boards are using to help reduce pressures on the rest of the system. Between January 17, 2022 and August 21st this year, on average, 250 people per week have been treated by the OPAT service, and more than 45,000 hospital admission bed days have been avoided in that period, supported by £50 million of Scottish Government funding. Health Secretary Hamza Yousaf said, "We know that our accident and emergency departments continue to be under significant pressure, and that is why we are working at pace to deliver this scheme, and others like it, to provide more care in the community while reducing pressure on hospitals. We know there is a real benefit to treating people at home where possible. We are determined to build on this success and want to see this adopted across as many health boards as possible. 9 health boards currently use the OPAT service, and the programme will be rolled out further across Scotland over the coming months."
School uniform policy needs a rethink. Young people's rights to education could be put at risk by rising school uniform costs and a postcode lottery when it comes to accessing financial support. The National Minimum School Clothing Grant is set at £120 for primary pupils and £150 for secondary students. Previously published figures, however, suggest that UK families spend on average £337 a year on uniforms for each secondary school child. Data gathered from 31 of Scotland's 32 local authorities found that councils paid out more than £22.5 million in clothing grants during the 2021-2022 school year, helping to provide uniforms to more than 161,000 primary and secondary school-aged children. Research by the University of Aberdeen has found that only 7 local authorities make automatic awards of the clothing grant when families are applying for other benefits, despite the Scottish Government calling for automatic payment. Just 5 roll over the school clothing grant into the next school year without requiring families to reapply, and from these 5, there are 4 local authorities that provide both automatic grants and the rollover of the school clothing grant. The study shows just 5 local authorities are paying more than £150 national minimum for secondary school pupils in the 2022-23 school year, with 10 paying more than £120 for primary pupils. The data was analysed by Dr. Rachel Shanks, Senior Lecturer of the University of Aberdeen's School of Education. Dr. Shanks laid out a series of recommendations which she presented to the Scottish Parliament on Thursday as part of the national consultation into school uniform policy.
Glen Challenge raises £34,000. More than £34,000 has been raised by teams taking part in RSABI's Great Glen Challenge. 17 teams battled it out in the multi-sport event, which saw competitors take part in stages between Fort Augustus and Fort William, completing 46km mountain biking, 18km walking, 17km running, and 6km kayaking. Newcomers team Shannock took home the trophy on the day, but it's Agravistas team, #4OurGrowers, who came top of the fundraising leaderboard, having raised a fantastic sum of £5,730, including gift aid. Team captain Neil Fettis said, "We had a really super day at the challenge. A particular highlight was seeing the youngest member of the team, William Fettis, come in second place in the run. A huge thanks to all of our sponsors. We are amazed at their level of generosity." Carol McLaren, RSABI Chief Executive, said, "We're very grateful to all our teams for their amazing fundraising efforts, which has helped us to raise over £34,000 to support people in Scottish agriculture. Many thanks go to all who took part, and everyone who sponsors our teams. Your generosity is very much appreciated by all at RSABI. Huge thanks go to our supporters and partners, Agravista, who went the extra mile with their fundraising, raising over £5,700. Congratulations also go to William Fettis on his second place in the running. What a great performance for his first ever running race." Funds raised by Challenge will help RSABI provide vital emotional, practical and financial support to people involved in the Scottish agricultural industry. These are challenging times, and many are worried about rising costs. I'd encourage anyone who is finding difficulty to get in touch with our friendly, professional team. All support is confidential, and our free phone helpline 0808 1234 555, that's 0808 1234 555, and web chat service are available 24 hours a day, every day of the year. RSABI is encouraging everyone in the agricultural industry to get involved in #Challenge125 with the aim to reach 125,000 kilometres by December the 2nd, when it will be holding a fundraising dinner as part of its 125th anniversary celebrations. To take part, visit www.rsabi.org.uk.
British wool needs farmers' voices. British Wool is inviting sheep farmers to play a role in its future by standing in its regional committee elections. The organisation collects, grades and markets wool collectively on behalf of its 35,000 sheep farmer members. Its governance structure includes 81 farmer-elected county representatives across 9 regions, with all regions up for election. Chairman Jim Robertson said, Our county representatives act as ambassadors representing British wool on a local level and acting as a voice for members. The county representative role is a 3-year appointment which would start on January 1st, 2023. Farmers who would like to be considered need to be nominated by 10 members from their county before the deadline of October 27th. Full details and nomination forms can be found at britishwool.org.uk/regional committees.
District News, Wednesday the 28th of September 2022. Churches. Kirkintilloch, Home Church, Scotland. Lammermoor Road, Kirkintilloch, G66 2AB. What else have I in heaven but you? Since I have you, what else could I want on earth? My mind and my body may grow weak, but God is my strength. He is all I ever need. Psalm 73 verse 25 to 26. One church, home church, 4 locations, Kirkintilloch, Glasgow, Stornoway and online. A church for all ages. 9:30am, communion. 10am, prayer time. 10:30am, fellowship, tea and coffee available. 11am, worship service in Children's Church, followed by tea and coffee. The Sunday evening service is in Renfield Centre, Bath Street, Glasgow, at 7pm. Minibus leaves home church at 6:30pm. Wednesday at 7:15pm is fellowship night, including a time of prayer and different groups studying the Bible. Bible study in Glasgow at Renfield Centre on Wednesday at 7:30pm. Alpha has started in Kirkintilloch and Glasgow at 6:30pm on Thursdays. Youth meet on the Fridays at 7:30pm for Bible study and fellowship. See Facebook and Instagram for up-to-date information for September. Kirkintilloch Church of God. On Sunday at Regent Hall, Regent Street, there will be a friendship tea meeting at 4pm. The guest speaker will be Colin Brooks from Wishaw. Refreshments will be served after the service. A warm invitation to everyone who is able to join us. Every Wednesday, our coffee corner is open from noon to 2pm for home baking and coffee. Join our friends and neighbours for a chat over a coffee. For up-to-date and further information on our services, visit our website on www.regenthall.org. The Bible says, Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners. 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 15. St David's Park Memorial Church. At St David's Memorial Park Church, our morning service on October the 2nd will be at our usual time of 10:30am and will be led by our Church of Scotland reader, John Nicholson. During our morning worship, school-aged children will have the opportunity to go through to our halls for their own time of fun and learning, with jam. All are welcome to attend our service. There are some COVID measures still in place. However, the wearing of face masks is not mandatory at this time. We look forward to welcoming you to the church. Our Tuesday lunchtime service will be held each Tuesday from noon in our small hall. The next service will be Tuesday, October the 4th. All are welcome to attend this afternoon service. Our guild group will be meeting on the same evening from 7:30pm till 9:30pm. The topic will be Quarriers Home, and the guest speaker is Anna Magnuson. We would like to extend a warm invitation. Lenzie Union Parish Church. Harvest Thanksgiving service will take place on Sunday, October the 2nd at 11am, led by Reverend Dan Carmichael. There is tea and coffee in the new hall after the service. Young people are also welcome to Lighthouse and Bible class. A live stream of the service is available on YouTube via our website. The Meeting Place coffee shop is open on Wednesdays 10am until noon in the new hall. Meet your friends and enjoy a chat over a cup of tea or coffee. Everyone, from the very young to the young at heart, is welcome to attend, and we also have a good selection of greetings cards and second-hand books for sale. The coffee pot is open on Fridays 10am to noon, and in the new hall for teas, coffee and chat. The Craft Cafe in Dean House will meet on Tuesday, October the 4th, from 2pm to 4pm, then fortnightly. Bring your own craft. Springfield Cambridge Church. Morning worship on Sunday, October the 2nd, which will celebrate the Sacrament of Holy Communion, will be led by Reverend Ian Taylor, Reverend Edson Duque de Castro, and Mrs. Julie Harty at 11am in the sanctuary. The Sunday school meets in room 2. There is also a creche facility where we will be happy to look after your child, birth to 3 years, in room 2. Morning worship is also being live streamed on the Springfield to Cambridge Church YouTube channel. A link to this can be found on Springfield Cambridge Church website, www.springfieldcambridge.org.uk, and Facebook page, where up-to-date information about events and church organisations can also be found. Tea and coffee are available after the service in the Cameron Hall. Come along and enjoy the fellowship. There will be a vestry hour on Wednesday, September the 28th, from 10am to 11am, for anyone who wishes to speak with the minister. There will be a short weekly service of worship in the Springfield Chapel on Wednesday, September the 28th, from 11:10am to 11:30am, with refreshments afterwards in the Hall of Fellowship. The September copy of our magazine can be found online on our website and Facebook page. The church fundraising group are holding a concert with the City of Glasgow Wind Orchestra in the church on Friday, October the 14th. This is a very popular event and it is an excellent evening of entertainment. Tickets are available on Sundays, September the 25th and October the 2nd and 9th in the Hall of Fellowship for £10 and £5 for under 21s. Tickets will also be available on the evening of the concert. Lenzie Old Parish Church. Sunday, October the 2nd at 11 a.m, the Harvest Thanksgiving service. Sunday school for children aged 3 years to P7 and focus for young people. A creche is available for children under 3. Come and sing. The Dementia Friendly Singing Group meets on Tuesday at 1:15 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. in the church hall. A warm welcome awaits all, and of course a cuppa with some delicious home baking. Please feel free to come and sing. Scottish country dancing is on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. in the church hall. Enjoy a gentle form of exercise for body and mind. Time Out, a friendly and welcoming group for ladies of all ages, meet in the church hall on Monday, October the 3rd at 7:45 p.m. The guest speaker is Hugh Deeney on the subject of well-being. Milton of Campsie Church. Ceilidh success at the church. Milton of Campsie Church held a family ceilidh on Saturday, September the 17th in aid of a Ukrainian refugee appeal. Julie did the honours and cut the specially prepared ceilidh cake. The evening was a great success, and thanks go to everyone who came along on the night and to all who helped organise the event. We're back in the building, no need to book. If you sit in the centre aisle, there is no need to wear a mask. If you sit in the side aisles, please wear one. Time to Pray has resumed its meetings on a Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. Our Harvest Appeal for Christian Aid currently stands at £800 plus gift aid. Thank you. Monday, Baby and Toddler Group, Hobbies Club, Badminton Club. Wednesday, Time to Pray at 7:15 p.m. The Fellowship at 7:30 p.m. Friday, BB Anchor and Junior sections of the BB. Next Sunday we'll be reading from Luke 17. Send us a picture of yourself with something small, a seed, a baby, a puppy. Our messenger magazine has been put in the letterbox of everyone in the village. Colston Well Park Church. A warm welcome to our morning service this Sunday at 11 a.m, led by Reverend Leslie Grieve. Tea and coffee served in the hall after the service. The Colston Art Club is on this Monday at 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. New members invited, and if interested, contact 07709 584 680. The 200th Boys Brigade has restarted with the company and senior sections on Fridays at 7 p.m. The Brownies have also restarted and are on every Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. All girls aged from 7 to 10 years invited. The food bank remains open every Monday and Friday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Donations of non-perishable foods gratefully accepted. Follow our services on Facebook at Colston Well Park Parish Church, and if you require further information on our church activities, etc., contact Leslie Grieve on 07813 255 052. Kenmure Parish Church. Please join us this Sunday as we celebrate the Sacrament of Holy Communion, beginning at 11 a.m. and conducted by the Reverend Susan Anderson. The wearing of masks will leave to personal choice throughout the sanctuary. The service will be live streamed on YouTube and can be found by searching for Kenmure Bishopbriggs. Details of all of our groups that are currently running may be found on our website, kenmure-church.co.uk. To find us on Facebook, just search for Kenmure Parish Church. If you would like to join our WhatsApp group or receive Bible studies from ABC, then email us at kenmurechurch@icloud.com. St James Church, Hilton Road, Bishopbriggs. Rector the Reverend Paul Watson, 0141 230 4080. The church is now open for socially distanced services, face masks a personal choice, this Thursday at 11 a.m, and on Sunday at 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Everyone is welcome to come along to any of these services. Do stay on for tea or coffee and fellowship afterwards. On Sunday the 2nd of October, from 3pm to 4pm, there is a session of crafty kids in the church hall. All families are very welcome to come along and enjoy activities together. The meditation labyrinth is still available in the car park for a mindful walk round. There are also other virtual services and groups. For up-to-date and further information, refer to our social media, Facebook, St James LS Bishopbriggs, website www.stjamesbishopbriggs.org.uk. Torrens Parish Church. The Sunday morning service, in person, is at 10:30am, conducted by Reverend Stuart Irwin. During the service, the youngsters meet together in creche, junior church, and frog. To join the service online, click www.torrensparishchurch.online.church. On Wednesday, September the 28th, we will be supporting the Macmillan Cancer Coffee Morning event at our cafe from 9am to noon, and all are welcome to join us for delicious home baking. Why not pop in and taste for yourself? The prayer ministry team will also be available from 10:30 to noon. The Girls Brigade meet on Wednesdays 6:15pm to 8:15pm, and the Boys Brigade meet on Thursdays 7pm to 9pm. To find out about regular weekly activities, check the website for what's on www.tpc.org.uk. District News, General, Wednesday the 28th of September 2022. Heart of the Matter, September the 8th, A Day to Remember, by Dr. Frank Dunn. Can you tell us a story, Grandpa? This is a weekly request from my grandsons as I drive them home from our weekly child supervising shift. A month ago, I told them of the train driver who was promoted to drive the Royal Train. One grandson asked me, "Have you ever met the Queen?" "I have," came my reply. The grandsons were impressed and asked, "Was it Queen Elizabeth or Queen Victoria?" I was so impressed that he knew about Queen Victoria that I forgave the timeline inaccuracy. Her late Majesty was without question a woman of substance, commitment and honour. Some years ago, I was invited to become a Deputy Lieutenant, DL, for the County of Dunbartonshire. It was not an onerous position. The main commitments were to read out telegrams from the Queen to centurions and those celebrating special wedding anniversaries. I was the beneficiary of meeting some remarkable individuals and their families. One memorable lady had lived with a paralysed arm, Erb's palsy, from birth, and lived to celebrate her 100th birthday. The other duty was to attend and read at the local Remembrance Day service. A favourite reading was the 8 Beatitudes, and I had to remind myself not to say, "Blessed are the pacemakers," instead of blessed are the peacemakers. Retirement as a DL is mandatory at 75, which means I am no longer in active service. We now have a new DL in Lenzie, Mark Billingdon, who owns an excellent deli/restaurant. A close elderly friend died on the same day as the Queen. Irene Markson was 94 and was a most distinguished classical pianist who married one of Stobhill's most renowned physicians, Dr. Jack Markson. Jack himself was a highly talented violinist. Jack died many years ago, but Irene remained active, teaching piano and raising money for medical charities through her musical talents and contacts. Irene and Jack had 2 sons. The late Jonathan, a distinguished barrister and excellent tennis player, and Richard, an internationally renowned cellist and conductor. The Markson family recently donated a magnificent piano to the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow, and the inscription plaque will now include Irene. I have 2 reasons to remember September the 8th. Price cap confusion. Almost 2 in 5 households, 38%, wrongly believe that the government's energy price guarantee means their bills cannot go above £2,500, according to new research from uswitch.com, the comparison and switching service. The measures announced by Prime Minister Liz Truss will support people with their energy bills and avoid the scenario of Ofgem's price cap soaring to a planned £3,549. Now, 1 in 5, 20%, say they feel confident about paying energy bills and don't think they will need to adjust their budgeting. However, the announcement has caused confusion, with 2 in 5 households, 38%, not understanding that the £2,500 figure is an illustration of the average household's yearly bill and not a fixed upper limit. Taking into account the previously announced £400 energy bill support, households could still pay on average £237 more for energy over 3 coldest months than they did last year. Ben Galizzi, energy expert at uswitch.com, said, "The government's measures will support a lot of households through the winter, but there is still a lot of confusion about what has been announced. It is important to remember that the price guarantee of £2,500 is only an average bill, so you will pay more if you use more energy. It's possible the announcement has created a false sense of security for some, especially for larger households, who may pay significantly more this winter. It's really important that households track their energy and cut their usage where possible, as well as keep an eye on how all households spending." More centenarians. The estimated number of people aged 100 or older has passed the 1,000 mark in Scotland for the first time, according to new figures from the National Records of Scotland. The latest figures show that as at June 2021, there were 1,040 people who had reached their century, an increase of 16% in the year to mid-2021. Esther Russedge, Head of Population and Migration Statistics, said, "The number of people in the oldest age groups has been steadily increasing. This latest increase reflects the baby boom that happened in the years after World War I. The majority of people aged 100 or older are female. 4 times more females than males reached the milestone, 820 females compared to 220 males, reflecting the longer life expectancy of females."
Stuart is Hall of Fame bound by Brian Newell. This is Colin Hendry. Partick Thistle has announced it will induct Stuart Bannigan into its Hall of Fame later this year. The midfielder from Bishopbriggs has made almost 350 appearances over the last 12 years, becoming a modern-day legend of the club. Bannigan signed for the Partick Thistle youth development team in May 2009, playing in the under-17 side. He made his first team debut in July 2010 against Clyde in the Challenge Cup, and his league debut against Stirling Albion 2 months later. Barring a loan spell at Ayr United as a teenager, Bannigan has been a one-club man and remains a key member of the Firhill side to this day. Previous inductees to the Hall of Fame include legends such as Jackie Husband and John Lambie, with the man nicknamed Banzo joining them on November 5th ahead of his testimonial year. A Partick Thistle spokesman said Stuart's been at the heart of successful Thistles teams throughout 2 title-winning campaigns and played in iconic moments during the club's 5-season stint in the Premiership. When fit and available for selection, he has consistently been the first name on the team sheet for no fewer than 4 different Partick Thistle managers. Tickets for the Hall of Fame ceremony went on sale last week, priced at £45 for non-season ticket holders and just £35 for season ticket holders. To book, call 0141 579 1971 and select option 3. The Stuart Bannigan Testimonial Committee has set up new Twitter and Facebook accounts to keep supporters up to date on next year's activities. A spokesman said, "We are delighted to announce that the testimonial year will commence on January 1st. Planning is well underway for 12 months of full events, including a comedy night, race night, testimonial dinner and, the highlight of the year, a testimonial match. To keep up to date, follow us on Twitter at SB8Testimonial or visit Facebook www.facebook.com/SB8Testimonial. That article was by Brian Newell. Alan Glens grab big win over Perthshire by Brian Newell. Alan Glens ran out comfortable 41-7 winners over Perthshire at the Beer Yards on Saturday. Alan Glens wearing their new strips featuring new main sponsor CCG Construction and with a large vocal home support backing them, settled early into this contest, scoring 7 tries on a great day for rugby. In the first half, Glens crossed the line 4 times with tries from Haddock,
Low McConnell and McEwen, with Thompson converting once, leaving the half-time score 22-7. Another 3 unanswered tries followed after the break from Moore, Haddock and Kevity, with Thompson slotting 2 conversations, leaving the score of 41-7 at full time. The season is a centenary of Alan Glynn's playing rugby in Bishopbriggs, and look forward to seeing new and returning face over the next few months. That was by Brian Newell. City is supporting Joe's Cancer Charity by Brian Newell. Glasgow City has announced this season it is supporting Joe's Cervical Cancer Trust. Almost 1 in 3 don't attend vital cervical screening, otherwise known as the smear test. The Trust is on a mission to change that, and Glasgow City are partnering with the charity for the season to share potentially life-saving messages. Joe's Chief Executive, Samantha Dixon, said, "We are thrilled to be partnering with Glasgow City to spread the word that #smear tests save lives. There can be so many reasons cervical screening can be a difficult test. This includes not knowing what the test is for, embarrassment, anxiety or work commitments. One of our aims at Joe's is to make sure that everyone has the information and support they need to get tested, and we're so pleased that Glasgow City are joining us on that mission this season." The testing rate for Glasgow and Clyde is the lowest in Scotland at 61.4%, compared to Shetland at the top of the table with 78.5%. One of the biggest barriers for non-attendance of screenings often tends to be work. 1 in 5 have had to use their annual leave to attend a cervical screening appointment. 62% say that an increase in discussion about women's health in the workplace would make them feel more comfortable taking time off to look after their health. 15% have delayed a cervical screening because they felt unable to take time off work. Joe's want to change this. They are encouraging employers to sign up to Time to Test. This means committing to giving employees the time they need to attend these appointments, as well as raising the profile of cervical screening and cervical cancer in the workplace. Glasgow City has signed up, and CEO Laura Montgomery said, "As a club that champions women and girls, women's health is an important priority for us. We are delighted to partner with Joe's Cervical Cancer Trust and join their campaign to encourage as many women as possible to get tested regularly." As the campaign states, smear tests save lives. It is as simple as that, and we look forward to promoting this message throughout the season and helping as many women as possible. For more information, visit www.joestrust.org.uk. On the pitch, Glasgow City won 2-0 at home to Hearts on Sunday in the SWPL. Claire Shine was unable to find the net in her final match after announcing her retirement from the sport at the age of 27. However, goals from Jenna Clark and Lauren Davidson extended City's 100% start to the season. City opened the scoring after just 9 minutes as Shine played the ball out to Hayley Lauder and a cross was headed in by Clark. The second arrived on 66 minutes as Davidson's miss-hit cross deceived Hearts keeper Charlotte Parker-Smith and ended up in the net. City are at home to Aberdeen on Sunday in the second round of the SWPL Cup. That was by Brian Newell. Downpour sees Tigers semi-final abandoned by Brian Newell. The first leg of Glasgow Tigers' SGB Championship playoff semi-final against Poole will now take place in Dorset after Sunday's match was curtailed by rain. A downpour brought proceedings at Ashfield to a halt after Heat 5, with the home team 4 points ahead. After a break for track work, racing resumed, but further discussions were held when Tigers guest Paul Stark fell on what was said to be a greasy surface. With spots of rain still in the air, the referee decided the meeting would not be completed and the match was abandoned, with the result not standing. The fixture will now be restaged at a later date, meaning match in Poole tonight, Wednesday, will now be the first leg. Glasgow boss Cammy Brown said the track just wasn't raceable after the rain, unfortunately. Paul Stark fell off while we were on what looked like a comfortable 5-1, and he came in and said there was just no grip at all. Craig Cook came in after his previous heat and said you can ride around, but you can't race, so the fans wouldn't see proper racing, and I think it was the right decision. Wednesday night is going to be difficult. Poole are going to be fired up for it, so we need to make sure our guys are fired up too. Tigers were in Plymouth last night, Tuesday, for the rearranged final fixture of the regular league campaign, which will have no bearing on the outcome of the competition. The fixture was postponed last month after the track was deemed unraceable by the officials. That was by Brian Yule. Violence erupts following Perthshire's exit from Cup by Brian Yule. A 34-year-old man was rushed to hospital after being hit on the head with a hammer as violence erupted between rival supporters following Glasgow Perthshire's Scottish Junior Cup match with Kilbirnie Ladeside. Perthshire lost the tie at Keppel Park 3-1, with Desmond Casatura on target for the hosts. A statement on the club's Facebook page read, "Glasgow Perthshire are aware of an incident which took place outside a ground after the match with Kilbirnie Ladeside. We have no information as to what happened but have been informed the person injured is on the mend. Inside the ground, we had an excellent cup tie played out competitively, where Kilbirnie Ladeside ran out 2-1 winners. All at Glasgow Perthshire wish the injured person a speedy recovery." Kirkintilloch Rob Roy are through to the third round after a 3-0 win at home to Dundee North End in manager Stuart Maxwell's 450th game in charge. Goals by Woodhouse and Baber gave Rob Roy a 2-0 lead at half-time before substitute Gordon added a third in the second half against the Angus side, who ended the game with 10 men. Rob Roy's reward is a home tie against Arthurlie in the next round. Rossvale also exited the competition as they hosted the current holders Auchinleck Talbot, going down 4-2. Prior to the match, Rossvale announced the signing of former Petershill duo Jack Crumlish and Ben Bradshaw. Their old club had made it through to the third round the previous weekend after beating Irvine Meadow on penalties, and Petershill have now been drawn at home to Carnoustie Panmure. West Park United and Rossvale both exited the Strathclyde Demolition Cup. West Park went down 2-1 at home to Renfrew, while Academy hosted Easterhouse, losing 3-2. Fixtures on Saturday. WOSFL Premier Division, Rob Roy vs Cumnock, Petershill vs Clydebank. First Division, St Roch's vs Rossvale. Second Division, Glasgow Perthshire vs Glasgow University. Fourth Division, Harmony Row vs West Park. Rossvale Academy vs Easterhouse. That was by Brian Yule.
Thank you for listening to this week's Kirkintilloch Herald podcast, brought to you by Q Review, print speaking to the blind. If you've any feedback, you're welcome to call us on 0141 772 3976. If you enjoyed this recording, feel free to subscribe to our channel.